All right. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining the conversation today. Hannah, really excited to introduce you to the Fundraise community and for those tuning in who maybe are not customers of Fundraise. So welcome to the conversation. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm super excited to be here and to have this conversation and also get to know Fundraise more.
Absolutely. So maybe for those listening and those maybe also discovering Fundraise for the first time, Fundraise is a software platform that serves nonprofits. Really, from 500,000 in annual revenue to 10 million is our core sort of segment, and we are everything from the donor management, CRM to fundraising platform, and then we work with enterprise organizations as more of a point solution as a giving solution on top of like more enterprise CRMs like Salesforce and so forth. But for those and a lot of customers listening would love to know what is the ShareWay. And so I know you are the founder and the CEO. So would love maybe if we took a step back before we jump into what the ShareWay is and hear a little bit about your founder story, what inspired you to start the company.
Absolutely. So, the ShareWay is a directory of companies that donate food, beverage, raffle, and auction items to nonprofits and schools. So, the most common use case that our users today use us for are if you have a fundraiser, gala, 5K, 10K runs, and you're looking for food and beverage for to serve at the events to get donated, or you're looking for auction or raffle items that you could auction off to raise money at the event. The ShareWay is the place to come. So you come to our site, you put in your event date, what you're looking for. So it could be gift cards, it could be muffins, and your location, and we surface for you a list of companies that donate in your geography. So you come, we curate a list for you, and then you click into their profile. You can read more details about their giving criteria. So sometimes brands will prefer to donate to environment or education causes, or they might have criteria like we don't donate to religious organizations. So we make all of those criteria super clear for you. You click on apply, we link you to their application page, and then you submit the application. And we have a ton of time-saving features to help you manage and track the application. So, for example, you could save the donors you're interested in, and then when you apply, update the status to applied. If you got approved, update that status so that it's super streamlined. And we also have additional insights on who donates, what's their approval rate, what's their response rate, so that you could really prioritize the ones that are most likely going to donate to your cause. So in a nutshell, that's what the ShareWay is. And about my founding story, so I came across this problem, which I didn't realize a lot of other nonprofits have, is going door to door to ask local businesses to donate. So when I was in high school, my high school club was putting up an event, and every year all the officers would go to the local town center and ask Chipotle, Mimi's Cafe, Safeway, Ralph's, like, hey, can you donate a gift card here? Can you donate burritos? And that process was just super frustrating. You would go to Chipotle and they'll be like, come back in 3 hours. Our general manager is not here. You come back in 3 hours and they're like, oh, he just left 15 minutes ago. Come back tomorrow. Fast forward many years later, I was living in San Francisco, and I had signed up for a hackathon with my teammates, and my team needed an idea. And I just remembered this frustrating experience. And I was like, I wish there was a website where I could put in my event date, my location, and the website will tell me who to contact. Because if you're a business and you don't donate, I don't want to contact you. I don't want to waste your time. I will reach out to the ones that are interested in donating and interested in sponsoring. And we built this at the hackathon. Apparently, a lot more people had the same problem and just never stopped working on it since.
That's awesome. So where are you at in terms of your journey with the company? Is it still startup phase? Are you in like the scale phase? Would love to for those listening, like where is the ShareWay at in terms of its
Yeah,
growth
we
journey?
are in the growth phase. So our product can be used nationally all across the US. Over 10,000 nonprofits use our site every single month to look for
Wow.
donations. So we are continuing to scale to get. a lot of people use us, but a lot of people still don't know that we exist. So we're rapidly scaling to spread the word that like, hey, nonprofits, this is a great tool for you to use. And another thing is last year, we actually launched our second product line, which is grants. So a lot of our users are like, this is great. We get product donations. How can I get grants? So we launched a grants product line. So now our users can also use the ShareWay to find grant opportunities
Oh, very
from.
cool. And on that point, is it like managing the grant cycle, like applying for the grant and so forth, or is it surfacing opportunities in the organization?
Yeah, so we surface the opportunities for you, and we have a tool where you can save and track the status of your application.
Awesome, very cool. Well, that's super exciting. I mean, that's an area that I think also would serve fundraise customers very well as it's something that we don't do within our donor management and CRM. One of the things we're really excited about as it relates specifically to like gifted items to charities is how this intersects with our auction platform. So part of our event technology, we have the ability for customers to auction, run silent auctions, and whether it's virtual or in person, and partnering, with the ShareWay on sourcing items to auction is something we're very excited about. I think actually we've also we're promoting the partnership in our platform, specifically in the event section. So as our customers are building events, they're able to leverage the great product that you've built, and so we're very excited to see that take off with the shared customer base.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so excited for this partnership. Actually, I think in your auction view, if you we I think the ShareWay is linked there, and if
Yeah.
you enter from there, there is a code for you to get a percentage off one of our paid plans
Oh,
to
awesome.
help you source items.
Yeah, no, that's a great call out. Going through fundraise, you'll get a discount for ShareWay product, and so very exciting. So let's maybe take a step back and talk a little bit more about the product and maybe even like before the product, more sort of the use case around why this is a tool that nonprofits should be really leaning into. For organizations that have experience accepting in-kind donations but want to modernize the process, what's like the best tactic to do so, and how does your product help really modernize the procurement of items? Any sort of like data or information around sort of best practices there would be really interesting to highlight.
Absolutely. So I have so many. I think the most common problem I hear from the nonprofits I work with is that usually your organization has a spreadsheet of in-kind donors that's donated every single event, and you go back to that same spreadsheet every single year, and you hit up the same people. So I think what needs to be added to that process is number one, how do you source new in-kind donors beyond that spreadsheet? And a good way to do that, one of them is the ShareWay. One of the things people tell us over and over again is like, oh, from your site, I found people I never thought donated that locally. And also through the ShareWay, you get ideas on who else you can donate, because on the ShareWay, you might see, oh, wow, plant shops actually donate. There's a plant shop next to me. Maybe I'll go ask them, or like salon and spas. So by using us, you actually get more ideas
Hmm.
about who else in your local community you can go out and reach out to. So number one, diversifying your sources. Number two, thinking very creatively about how else you could add to that auction package. So maybe it's stuff that you can't really buy, right? It's if you're a school, maybe it's a lunch with the school principal, right? Or if you have connection to a board member who runs like a famous local restaurants or whatnot, a dinner there, or like dinner with the founder of X and Y. So thinking of creative packages that you can create through the network that you have is another tactic. And number three, in the realm of outreach, these are some really interesting stats to keep in mind. Around 60% of the donor application on our site require you to submit an application 6 weeks in advance.
Oh, wow.
So I would recommend, if you need to source in-kind donations for an event, start 3 months before the event, because you will get a lot more options.
Got it.
The second tip related to timing is, if your gala is at the end of the year, so like December or November, a lot of brands actually tend to run out of budget by then.
Hmm.
So, for example, Chipotle usually opens up their donation request program like in February, and then they run out by October. So, if your event is towards the end, try submitting an application for it in like the summertime or something so that you don't miss the really popular brands.
Yeah.
And then another one, on TheShareWay, we track donor response and approval rate. So this is managing your expectation, you know. So if you're doing a cold outreach, not everyone's going to respond. So having the right expectation is very important. So on our site, the average response rate from brands is around 40%, and the average approval rate is 15%. Um, so use that as a proxy and work backwards. So if you want to have like 20 donations and approval rate is 15%, work backwards to see how many people you need to reach out to get to that number of donation requests for your event.
Very interesting. Do you have on that? It kind of brings up. Do you have any sort of data on like what are the most purchased auction items? Are they experiences? Are they like products? Like any insight that you have around like what you've seen to kind of be the most like popular items that are purchased through? Um,
Yeah, so I don't have data on purchases at auctions because people get auction items from our site and then they
yeah.
use people like fundraise to
Oh,
auction off.
right. Okay.
But I will say, in terms of what items to purchase, think about your audience. So if your audience is mostly female, if you're like a women's empowerment organization, maybe you want to focus on makeup, purses, versus if it's like a sports team or more male, maybe you want to get like jerseys, right? Reach out to the local like basketball or baseball team for tickets. So I would think a lot about the audience who's coming, and tailor your packages according to that.
Okay, good advice. Good advice. So, what I'm hearing is like in-kind donations can really be anything, right? And I'd be really curious to hear like what are some of the most unique items that you guys have procured that are on your site? Yeah, would be interesting to hear some
Yeah.
of those things.
So the most unique, I would say, they're actually no longer donating, unfortunately. But most unique, you would never think of this, is 23andMe used to donate DNA kits.
Oh, interesting.
Um, Yeah, but they're no longer doing it. So this is just to give you an example of like how creative this can be, and really, truly, like any type of companies can donate product.
Yeah,
Um, People actively donating, GoPro. That's very interesting.
very cool.
We have summer camps that donate. So if you have kids and you want to sign them up for a summer camp, they're donating like $500 off tuition or like a free pass to a camp near you. So that's also really interesting. Um, Salons, spas, plant shops. I think those type of businesses donate as well. So don't discount them when you are reaching out to local businesses.
Very, very, very good to know. Like one of the things that I found interesting with like auctions in particular, and sort of the items that are a part of the auctions, and this is like through the lens of like a few different galas that I participate in a year. But the more that the like items sort of resonate with the mission of the organization, you see a lot more like momentum around the auction, right? And so, as example, one of the nonprofits you might have actually met Hannah at Liberty at Camp Redwood in January, but she's the CEO of Liberty in North Korea. They had a North Korean propaganda artist donate a bunch of art,
Wow.
and it's like
Yeah.
super cool art. And it was the first time they had ever tried to do, like an auction before, and so they're like, let's just keep it very like mission focused. And the art auction had raised something like $230,000 from just like art sales, and it was like incremental revenue to the goal of that night, because they had already done the cash auction, they'd already done like the fundraising, and this was in addition to all of that, and they continued and they've expanded and have gone like less niche with kind of with the auction items. But I've seen that at least be a good starting point for organizations as they like expand sort of their program around how they interact with like auctions.
Absolutely. That's such a great example. I think there's stuff unique to your nonprofit, to your network, to your angle. And thinking in that direction and being creative about that can help you find angles that resonate with your audience. And one example I want to give is I used to do the job of just soliciting donations for nonprofits. And one of the nonprofits I was working with was called the Japanese American Student Conference. Um, and they wanted to just get food and snacks for the students coming to the conference. And I was thinking of brands that really resonated with this audience. And I ended up reaching out to Haichu, which is a candy. It's like targeted at like the Asian audience, and just ended up getting so much candy donated because the audience is perfect for the brand's audience of who they want to connect with and who they want to be associated with. um, and I got like hundreds of boxes of candy for the students for that conference.
Oh wow, that's so cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Uh, so there's obviously like a very clear use case, especially for like fundraise customers who are running auctions to accept in-kind donations so that they can auction them off and raise more funds. With your experience in acquiring or procuring in-kind donations, is this a model for every nonprofit from your perspective? Like, can every nonprofit benefit from this, or is there an inflection point, based on organization size or mission that's important to pay attention to?
Yeah, I would say any type of organizations can benefit and get in-kind donations. I think the question you want to ask yourself is the in-kind donation I'm going to get and the money I can raise from auctioning off this item worth the effort that I'm putting in? So what we're finding is as organizations get bigger, right, as they get to like $5 million in budget, right, they start to have relationships with individual donors, and cultivating those relationships and getting like, I don't know, a $500,000 check is a more it's more worthwhile of your time than trying to get $100 product value, $1,000 there, and like auctioning off. Right, the effort of that is really high compared to you cultivating a relationship. So I think I would think about what, after auctioning off, how much money can you realistically get? So let's say it's $50,000, but it'll take 40 hours to procure all of those items. Is that 40-hour better spent doing this, or is that better spent cultivating certain relationships? So
Hmm.
what we're finding is small and medium-sized organizations tend to do auctions a lot more than large organizations, because getting in-kind donations is anyone can get their foot in the door. There's no like gatekeepers, or like it's really hard to get connected to this person who's then going to write a check, right? A
Yeah.
lot of brands have on their webpage, if you go to Chipotle today, Chipotle donation request, there's an application page. So even if you just started a nonprofit, you could apply and get something. And the value sometimes is low, right? It's like a $50 gift card. But for a small and medium sized organization, when you add all of that up, it's very meaningful, and it's accessible to you.
Yeah.
There's no intros you have to get to the person making decision. They're just open applications, and you just submit an application, and they approve or decline.
I would also imagine sort of like your model is a lot more. It's much higher margin for the nonprofit versus like I'm thinking of like consignment, like experienced consignment companies that are taking like a pretty hefty amount off the top if the item is sold. So can you talk to us a little bit about the difference between like vacation packages as on consignment versus what your model is and how it's different?
Absolutely. So for consignment packages, so uh, a stay somewhere or flights to certain places, how that typically works is that the company giving this has procured this package from someone, and they got it at a low price, and they're selling it to you, and you have to sell above the price they got it for, and whatever you sell and whatever they got it for, you keep the margin of that difference.
Yeah.
So I think one thing to look into is, do you feel confident that you can sell it at a certain price? What we found is the vacation packages type of auction items tend to work better when your audience are like high net worth individuals and can pay a high price to get these packages. Um, versus the items you find on the ShareWay is a donation. So it's a Chipotle $50 gift card. It's Lush giving you $500 worth of body lotion. And there's no minimum cost for you. So whatever you raffle or auction off, you keep all of that. The main cost for you is the time to procure those items,
Right.
but you don't have to purchase it.
Got it. Got it. Okay. That makes total sense. Okay, so you have a lot of stats, metrics, insights, and how to get responses when asking for in kind donations. Can you share some of this data? Anything that like would be helpful for an organization as they're thinking through this?
Absolutely. Number one, remember to follow up. When I used to do this, I think I got 45% of my yeses from my follow ups.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so keep track of your emails, and if they don't respond within 2 to 3 weeks, I give them time. They're not looking at this every day. Send a friendly follow up. So that's huge. I'm trying to think what else. I think a lot of these brands have the same process, right? You have the same pitch. This is about my event. This is my audience. This is how we're going to promote you. Um, and then they need the 501c3 letter. So have all of your materials ready, and make sure they're all there, because I've seen requests where it's like, I need a donation. Like they spend zero time on like drafting the ask. So
Yeah.
make sure you spend the time to draft that really well. It is a one-time effort because once you have it, you could reuse it everywhere else. So have a well-written pitch and make sure it's not too long. I've seen ones that's like a whole page, 3 paragraphs, right? Like keep it at like 1 paragraph and then like bullet points, like make it really easy to read. So spend time on the application. How you could supercharge this is a great piece of task for interns and volunteers. You prepare the materials for them and just ask them to do the outreach, because sometimes you're sending out to 100 different businesses making the ask, and it could take a lot of time. But it's not hard. So as long as you have the material, you could like leverage volunteers and interns for it.
Very cool. And like, have you noticed? Is it like, is there a better response rate if they're coming from like local businesses to the organization, or is this just because they're and that's kind of the next question as well is there a tax incentive for the business to donate the item? Is it similar to like the treatment of like cash donation, for instance?
There are tax benefits for the businesses for sure. But I will say sometimes brands aren't necessarily donating just for tax reasons. Sometimes I think you have to think: is this brand donating for philanthropic versus marketing reasons? For the
Oh,
marketing ones, in your pitch letter, you want to highlight like there's an audience match. You're going to get in front of 100 people. We're going to give you a logo shout out. Our Instagram following is X, right? So for the high chew one, I focused on the marketing pitch. But Chipotle has more of like a philanthropic program where most people who apply will get it. So that one, the marketing is not as critical. So I think you just have to kind of see why the brand is doing this.
got it. In terms of other insights or takeaways for listeners, is there anything that like I didn't ask or that we didn't cover that you think would just be important for the viewers to understand around your company, procurement, and just having successful auctions in general?
Yeah, yeah. I think a couple additional tips that I would add. Location matters a lot, especially when you're reaching out to people who are local. So whether or not if you use the ShareWay, we already factor in locations and filter out the ones that don't donate in your location. But if you're reaching out on your own, like make sure that company is selling in your location. If they're not selling products there, they're probably not interested in donating. Number two, I actually learned this from one of our users. I didn't realize you could do this. A lot of times brands will specify you can only submit an application once a year, one request per year per organization. So when he first started, it was year one of him starting his nonprofit. He got declined, but he made a note of when the application would reopen again for him. And the moment it reopened, he submitted right away. And through this process, he ended up getting like $200,000 worth of product
Wow.
from the ShareWay, just like by keeping track of when things reopen and when he can apply it. So just because someone declined once doesn't mean they will again later. It might just be because they're out of budget that time you ask. So keep track of when you can apply again and be diligent about it. And also, I think the hard part about all of this is every brand will have a different deadline. Some of them will say apply 6 weeks before, apply 2 weeks before, apply 6 months before. So one thing that we have built into the ShareWay that's really helpful for that is if you just create an event on the ShareWay, we keep track of those deadlines for you. So every single week we'll send you an email. These are the upcoming deadlines. Don't forget to apply to them. If you don't use the ShareWay on your own spreadsheet, keep track of like when the brands have specified when you need to submit applications by, because it can get to be a lot to track.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm really excited for this partnership and how it's going to really supercharge our auction platform for our customers who are really looking to raise more funds and level up, their event fundraising through auctions. I think this is just a really great opportunity, in terms of like the synergy and the partnership between our two companies. So I'm really excited to see our customers kind of hit the races with this and really leverage your platform to power their auction fundraising. So I'm really excited to see that happen and that to take place. One last question I'd love just to kind of get your thoughts on taking kind of maybe going a little bit higher level. And is what is it that you're excited about over the next couple of years? Like what is your vision around where the ShareWay is going and the impact you hope to make in the nonprofit community as a result?
Yeah, our vision is to build a common app for in-kind donations. So today, every brand still have their own process. Literally, you have to go on every single person's website and fill out the same information again. This is my event description. This is what I'm looking for. This is my event date. So similar to a common app for college, imagine there's a common app for in-kind donation. So you fill it out once and you select who you want it to go to, and the brands are all on the same platform. So what we've achieved in the last 5 years of building the ShareWay is a lot of nonprofits are using us. And this year, one of our big goals is to start to bring the brands to also be users on our site so that they're intaking your requests on our side so that you don't have to fill out applications at like 20 different places. So we are really focused on getting brands on board to use the ShareWay to create an even more seamless experience for the nonprofits and create better matches. Imagine if you don't actually even have to apply, right? We just know that these two are good match for each other and we just make the connection.
That's awesome. I love it. It's like it's a marketplace, right? For brands to do good, donate product, and then for organizations to donate those or auction those off and make that more accessible overall. It's a big vision, and it's a good one because I mean I don't know where else that exists today. You found like a really sharp problem for nonprofits and a solution to solve for it. And so I'm excited to watch your journey as you continue to build and develop, and as we continue to build on our partnership as well. So Hannah, thank you so much for joining the this conversation today. And we'll make sure for those listening, there'll be a link directly below to access and learn more about the ShareWay and fundraise. And again, just thank you so much, Hannah, for your time.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. And we're so excited for the partnership as well. And for some of our users to start using Fundraise and see how it could be helpful for their auctions.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. See you.